All right, in this video, we're going to be changing the pull cord on my Husqvarna snowblower. I'm going to start off by removing these 3 screws here that are holding the housing on. All right, now that that's done, I'm going to cut this old rope that I had put in out. The way these things work is pretty simple. We're going to wind them up and then stick a screwdriver in to hold it while it's wound up. Then we're going to feed a new rope in and attach it just using knots so that it can't slide through. And then when we release it, it's going to pull all the rope in to the housing. Once I got the rope out, I used my left hand to hold the inner wheel, and then I used my right hand to spin the casing around, and it basically feels like you're tightening kind of like a spring, and you're gonna keep tightening it till it gets all the way to the end. You can't spin anymore, and then you're gonna stick a screwdriver through to hold it in place. All right, now we wanna locate the hole that we're gonna be feeding the rope into. And the goal here is to line that hole up with the other hole where the handle goes in. That way, when you're going to feed the rope through, it's going to go through both holes. And then you're going to tie a knot on the inside to hold it in. So I'm going to temporarily remove the screwdriver. Spin it until the holes are lined up. And then you'll see the rope's going to feed through the top and then through the inner hole. So the rope I'm using is just some cheap rope that I picked up on Amazon a couple years ago. It's nothing fancy. It's a little bit thicker than I would have liked, but you know, something that's durable, that's not going to break on you, and it's not too thick. Maybe some paracord or something would serve you great if you have some. So I want about 5.5 to 6 feet of rope. So I'm 5'11", so I'm just going to stand up and use my body as a guideline. Now, I want to say that it's better to have too much rope and not enough rope. If your piece is too small, you're not going to get the full pull and you're going to hurt your shoulder. But if it's too long, worst case scenario, you could probably just, trim it when it stops pulling into the machine and then, put a handle on it. Now I'm going to burn the end of the rope to try to make it harder so that it's easier to feed through the holes. Because my rope was so thick, it was a real pain in the butt. So definitely recommend, you don't get a rope that's too big. This is, probably the most challenging part of the entire process is just feeding this rope through these little holes. Once I got the rope through, I tied a knot on the end and used the lighter a little bit, kind of heat it up. The heat melts the plastic a little bit so that it becomes like one and it won't come apart. I tried to find a handle, but the only thing I could find was something that looks like it came off maybe one of my grinders or one of my mixing grills or something. Most handles that you're gonna put on a snowblower especially, you're just gonna feed the rope through and tie a knot, similar to what we just did for the housing. Now I'm gonna remove the screwdriver and gently let the spring pull the rope in. It looks good for the most part. Maybe I could have done it a touch shorter, but it still goes in all the way, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna line it up and try to find a good position for my handle so that I'm not gonna destroy my shoulder when I have to yank on this thing in cold weather over and over. Now we're just gonna stick these screws back in. We're gonna take it out and we'll fire it up, make sure everything's working good. Unfortunately, this thing didn't want to start. I ended up having to pull the plugs and clean them and mess with it for a while. But once I did actually initially get it started up, I was able to pull it over, so everything was good. All right, that's it for changing the pull cord on the snowblower. It seems to be working good, even though it's a bit of a pain to start, but once it got warmed up, it pulled just fine. So it's all working, everything is good. I kind of like the big handle because it makes it easier to pull, which is really cool. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, don't forget to smack that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you on the next one.